Okay, this is an 88, and if you turn an 8 sideways, it looks like an infinity symbol, so infinite infinity. Unfortunately, this hat needs to be adjusted. Okay, so we were talking about the Gospel of Thomas, Nag Hammadi, Cathars, Gnosticism, and which can lead into like Knights Templar and the Freemasons, the Illuminati. You can branch out into all kinds of other things possibly. And the next thing I want to talk to you about is, okay, if you were wanting to become like a Gnostic person, what do you really need to know? Well, the first thing that I wanted to know is, did the Cathars use psychedelics? And the question is, I don't see any documentation. And the reason why we want to know is because in France we know there's a fungus called ergot that grows on rye, R-Y-E, rye grass. And ergot is used as a source for LSD production. So that fungus is a psychedelic fungus, and we wanted to know, and we couldn't find anything back to the time of the Cathars. We're told in the Middle Ages that people accidentally were ingesting ergot, and they were tripping. But we have nothing earlier than that. And the question is simply, are people using things like LSD or magic mushrooms and calling it Gnosticism? Trying to find within, on a psychedelic journey, if you can find these supreme beings. And the answer is it's not listed in my first Google search, so I'm going to say it's unknown. Why do we think possibly that these ancient people were using these things? We're not sure. It's just something that modern day people seem to think is a pathway to higher consciousness. I don't even want to go down that one because I'm trying to stick to Gnosticism. So, what else can we know about Gnosticism? The answer is pretty much a bunch of textbooks, perhaps. Anything in there that's going to be of use today? I think I'm getting bored with the whole topic because I don't really want to go and look to see if there's anything written in all of these old textbooks that's going to be of any interest to me when it comes to this subject. And the answer is pretty much, why did I want, it's just because. So, what other things might be related? We could consider and consider and consider, and I'm boring you and I'm boring me because I didn't do the research. And what research do I want to talk to you? We might go with some writings of Barbara Hand Clow, who was the writer of The Alchemy of Nine Dimensions, and she was very much into 2012. And anyways, her stuff, I can't fathom it. I've looked at samples of what she's talking about, these nine dimensions, and I have no clue. No clue what she's talking about. But I still think she's on to something because her name has popped up so many times over the years for me and the various different connections. So after I looked at this like alchemy book and I couldn't figure it out, I looked to see what else she was into, and she wrote some interesting storybooks that were trying to illustrate some of the principles perhaps, and I can't see the connection, but nevertheless she did write one book that I started to read, and it had to do with this Cathar heresy, and she was writing it in historical times. Um, So I think she knows something. I can't put my finger on it because I can't understand her. Can't understand it. It's like I was saying in the past few days. Um, I think there's a language. I think there's information in there. She certainly seems like she knows what it is, um, but I can't fathom it. And maybe it's because I haven't spent any time with her. But then again, I've spent time with other so-called teachers and come away with I didn't know what the hell that was all about many times. So I can't remember the name of that little book that she wrote, and if I can find it, I'll put it down in the comments. And what else do we want to know? We just want to keep going back to some of these things that keep cropping up. And those things that keep cropping up are pretty much something to do while I'm in lockdown. And, sometimes when I'm like, this light that I got down here, this room, it's very harsh and my eyes get tired and I don't want to read. And, then sometimes I'll listen to a lecture on like YouTube or something, and sometimes they're good. Sometimes I end up drifting away. The reason why I'm unable to give you any more words on this subject is because I am unable to give you any more words on this subject. And that is going to be what I'm going to leave you with, a long silence. And sometimes people might say, well, that's like dead air and it's not a good thing, you should be talking. No, it's mostly because in the silence, perhaps something will arise for you. Now, if nothing arose for you, well, then rather than calling this a dead end, why don't we make another video? Because this one is going in the garbage can.